Ultralight backpacking has its pros and its cons, and some pretty crazy extremes. It's when your base weight is 10 pounds or less. Your base weight is all of the weight of everything in your pack minus consumables, so things like fuel, water, and food. So what are the cons? What are some of the drawbacks to ultralight backpacking? Durability. Ultralight gear tends to be more fragile and doesn't last as long as other gear you might potentially go out and buy. That means you need to be a little bit more careful when you're out in the backcountry to avoid things like snags or setting your tent up on something that potentially is sharp and could punch a hole or rip a hole in your nice new tent. Cost. Ultralight gear can be really expensive. In some ways, that can be prohibitive for people to get into ultralight camping because it costs so much money to do it. Now, there are a few types of gear that actually are cheap, but also high quality and lightweight. Things like your stove, your cook pot, even a rain jacket like Frog Talks or something like that. However, when it comes to some of the bigger items like your tents or your sleeping bag, it's really hard to find high quality gear that's ultralight that doesn't cost hundreds of dollars. Comfort. Going ultralight means you're sacrificing some of those luxury items that might make your experience more comfortable and potentially more enjoyable. Things like a camp chair, maybe bring camp shoes that you'd have with you so you're a little more comfortable around camp. It could be a little board game that you might want to bring with you that's lightweight. It could be a second cup, so that way you can drink your coffee and have your oatmeal at the same time. Those are some of those creature comforts and luxury items that if you really want to be ultralight, you're not going to be bringing with you. Time. It takes a lot of experience to really dial in your gear and figure out exactly what makes the most sense for you. We're all different, and the gear that we want to bring out in the backcountry is probably going to be different. So there are a lot of high quality gear lists out there. I'll link one at the end of this video. It's affordable, it's lightweight, it'll get you out there without spending too much money. But at the end of the day, it's probably going to take you a number of backpacking trips to really figure out what does your ultralight list include, or do you even want to go ultralight? It prevents beginners from getting started. Now, this is a little bit more of a philosophical con to ultralight, but a lot of new people are out scouring the internet trying to do research before they go on their first outdoor adventure, and they see all this material, right, about how they need to go ultralight, how important it is, and then they go look at how expensive it is, and they say, gosh, I don't even know if I like this or not. I don't know if I want to spend like $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 to get ultralight gear, so then they just don't go on an adventure at all. And if you know anything about this channel, we're all about trying to get people outdoors more often, to get out there and have adventures. And this is one of the cons, I think, to ultralight. There are also some really crazy things that people do to go ultralight. I'm gonna share some examples of those with you at the end of this video, so stay tuned. Okay, so what are some of the pros? What are some of the benefits to going ultralight? More miles. If you carry less weight, that means you're gonna be burning fewer calories for every mile that you travel. That means you're gonna be less tired and less exhausted, which means that you can arguably stretch the distance you can do per day because you're able to go longer and potentially able to go faster. So there's a lot of cool things about being able to go more miles. One of them is that you're able to see more things because you're out on trail longer. As someone who likes to take photos and take videos and things like that, being able to see more is a really big benefit for me. Another cool benefit is that if you only have a limited amount of time to go out in the backcountry, right? Maybe it's a long weekend or something like that, you might be able to do that loop that you really want to do instead of an out and back because you can do more miles every day. You're less exhausted. It means you're gonna be less tired when you're on trail. It means you're gonna be less tired when you get into camp. If you come into camp and you are totally wiped out, you're probably not having the greatest time. And also, it means you're not going to be motivated to do some of the other fun things that you could do once you get to camp. Things like go for a swim, go fishing, gather some firewood. You're just not going to want to do that stuff if you're totally wiped out. Fewer injuries. If you have a lighter pack, that means you're more agile and more nimble. And that means that you're more able to maneuver across different terrain features effectively, whether that's a rock garden or a river crossing, or maybe just some weird angle that you're trying to climb up or climb down, where you need to be a little bit more flexible. Having lighter packs really going to help you there. And that also is going to help to prevent those injuries because you'll have less rolled ankles, you'll have less falls because you're more agile and able to navigate that terrain. Also, the most common cause of injury in the backcountry is from falling. So let's try to avoid that and not have so much weight in our pack. Increased accessibility. One of the coolest things about ultralight is that it allows more people to get outdoors. Whether that's a backpacker who's getting up in their years and it's just a little bit harder for them to get out there because the gear's just a little too heavy. It's a little bit more difficult to navigate some of the terrain because of this heavy pack that they're carrying on their back. Material science has improved so much over the last 10 plus years that some folks thought that it took 35, 40 pound packs to get out there in the backcountry, when nowadays it's like 10 to 15 pound packs. I've had a lot of conversations with people out on trail, and I know that this is true. And the smile it puts on their faces when they tell me about how they thought they were done backpacking or thought they never could start it in the first place are actually able to, it's just a really cool thing. Gear. Some of us just love talking about gear. I'm one of those people. I really enjoy talking about gear. I talk about gear a lot on this channel. And also, there are people out there who just have a fun time being strategic and clever about how they're gonna make adjustments to the gear that they bring. How can they shave a few grams? Maybe they're trying to get to like a target base weight that they're working towards. And if I make these few modifications, I can get there. There's a lot of fun stuff on the internet about people doing little hacks and things like that to save some weight. And while it might seem kind of silly to some people, for those people, it's like a game and it's fun to play it. Lighter footwear. If you have a lighter pack, that means you can wear lighter footwear on your feet and not totally destroy your feet when you're out in the backcountry. This means that you might be able to move from something like a big and burly hiking boot down all the way to a trail runner, which is way more breathable, it's more nimble, you'll be more agile with the trail runner on. I personally use trail runners and it's a huge benefit to me to be able to use those. However, if you have a heavy backpack, trail runners might not be the right solution because your feet are probably gonna take a decent pounding. Some people do it anyways, but for sure, if you have a lighter backpack, you can wear lighter shoes. Before we talk about some extreme examples of ultralight, please consider liking and subscribing to this video. We would love to have you as a part of the Chase Adventures family, and it helps our tiny little channel get noticed. If you've been backpacking long enough, you've seen all kinds of crazy things that people are doing to go extremely ultralight. I have my own list here, I wrote them down. I got some from some friends that have been out in a lot of backcountry adventures as well. If you have examples, put them in the comments below. I think it's kind of hilarious, and some of these are kind of silly, but they're kind of fun, and maybe there's genius in there. Maybe there's some genius in there, I don't know. Probably not. Nah. Peel the stickers off their water bottle and lighter. Removing zipper pulls, I have seen that. Trimming toothbrush bristles. Eating coffee beans instead of drinking coffee. What? Eating 7 hamburgers the night before so you can bring less food. Bread bags for camp shoes. Bread bags for camp shoes. Yeah, no, I read it right. I did read it right. Manscaping. Ultralight condoms. Not bringing a toothbrush at all. That's so disgusting. Come on, people. Fill their backpack with helium. Spraying half of their DEET repellent ahead of time. Remove lint from their belly button. A paper bag pillow that you inflate with a straw. As promised, here is an affordable list of gear. It costs under $700. It weighs under 13 pounds. It's everything that you need. There's a lot of good stuff in there. Thanks for being here, everybody.